What is resilience? If you've been around for a while, you've probably heard this word used a lot lately. It is everywhere. We're all talking about resilience, becoming more resilient, being tough, being strong, bouncing back. But what is resilience and why do we care about it? First, usually I start with questions, but you might not have a lot of information about what resilience is. I think a lot of us, even as adults, we don't always know what that means. And so I wanted to bring it to you and give you some things to think about so you can decide if any of this rings true for you or not. First, what is resilience? Take a moment, you can write it down, you can pause. Again, it's really helpful to know, what information are you starting with? What do you think resilience is? Write it down or put it in your brain, and then we'll keep on going. So no matter what you answered, you're probably onto something. You're probably pretty close. Resilience is the ability to bounce back. Resilience is about being in a challenging situation or circumstance and being able to utilize personal resources, self-awareness, self-management tools to bounce back, to keep showing up. Here's an example. When we talk about athletes, say an athlete gets injured or has a really bad game, what are the tools and steps that athlete does in order to bounce back and to be able to perform well during the next game? I guarantee every professional athlete out there, even the most, accomplished ones, have all had bad games. They all have them. It just happens. It's the natural part of being a human being, right? We're a little different every day, and every day, sometimes things go our way and sometimes they don't. So being resilient as an athlete might look like training more or training in a different way. Probably looks like working with their coach and their trainers to work their body and, probably watch a video and look at how did I perform and why didn't it go the way it did? And they might even analyze, right? They might even ask some questions, do some inquiry or some, mindful observation, right? Self-awareness without judgment. And they might come up with some different tools and techniques that they can use with the body to find better ways to show up better the next time. But another way an athlete is going to prepare to have a better game is also in working with their head, working with their mindset, and becoming aware of what thoughts are in place, especially when those thoughts are, I didn't do a good job, I had a bad game, everyone's mad at me. You can think a lot of negative things, right? When you have a bad day or a bad game or a bad test or a bad grade, or a bad interaction with a friend or a parent or sibling, right? There's lots of things that can get in our heads. And when we let those things get in our heads, it can make it worse. And so resilience is being able to say, I had a bad game, but I'm not a bad athlete. I'm still really great at what I do. I'm still a good person. Right? And I can still show up and have an amazing game tomorrow or next week. And the same is true as a person, right? You can have a bad interaction with a friend. You can be rude, right? Like sometimes we're just not in a good mood and we don't have a good way to express it, or maybe things just aren't going our way. And rather than us coming out and saying, I'm a bad person because I had a bad day, we can say, I had a bad day and I'm still a good person and I'm still going to try hard to be a good person tomorrow. And we're all going to be on that journey together, right? We're all doing our best. Some days the best comes through, some days it doesn't. And that's okay. It's just part of being alive. So what is resilience? It's bouncing back. It's choosing to show up again tomorrow. It's working with the mind. And it's also using a lot of the tools that we practice in yoga and mindfulness to balance the body, to work with the nervous system, right? To reduce some stress, right? To relieve the body of tension or pain, and to be able to show up a little bit better the next day. Resilience is that bounce back. It is using the tools you've got and being able to show up differently. And I think it's important to say, resilience is not ignoring the problem and pretending it didn't happen. Resilience is not just getting through. Resilience is not ignoring. Resilience is dealing with the emotions that show up when we have a bad day, when we have a tough moment, when we're going through hard things. And knowing that we have the tools and we have the resources to be able to show up better tomorrow, right? And using those resources and asking friends and asking family and working with our community and our network and our teachers and our school counselors. This is why they're there, to be better at bouncing back. Bouncing back is a skill. And that's the point I'm trying to get at. Resilience is a skill. And this is what we're going to learn. It's what we'll keep on practicing. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot. It's so much easier to not be resilient. It's so much easier to just be like, well, I had a bad day, I'm in a bad life, everything's bad, right? But is that true? Mindfulness would ask the question, is that true? Yoga would give you some breathing techniques and some ways to move the body so that feeling doesn't feel so true. And then if we brought it all together, we'd work with the brain, the body, the mind, the breath, and then maybe we could start to think something differently, like, I'm going to try to have a better day tomorrow. Or I'm going to choose rest. Or I really need to talk about this with my friend. And all of those things will help you to develop resilience and to be brave. To me, resilience has a lot to do with being brave. So what is brave? What is being brave? Again, we used to think brave was just doing everything and not being afraid and having no fear. But that's not what brave is. Brave is having fear, right? Which makes sense, right? When a situation is hard or new or different, when we have to show up and be a little bit stronger or do something we've never done before, being brave is having that fear, having that stress, having that anxiety, and still showing up and still doing it anyway. That is being brave. That is being resilient. And that is what we're going to practice. So, what's your activity on resiliency? I want you to take a moment to close your eyes. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. Awesome. Now I want you to take a moment to, with your eyes closed, begin to feel a time when you had a bad day, or you had a bad feeling, or you had a bad interaction with a friend or a family member, a bad game, right? Maybe you play sports. And I want you to take a moment to feel that moment. Okay, so we know we all have bad days, right? We all have things that we make mistakes, we do something wrong, maybe we feel a little embarrassed. That's true for all human beings. You can't get around it. Now, next, I want you to kind of put that to the side for a moment. And I want you to think about now a moment where you had a really great day, a really great time with your friends, a really great adventure, a really great game, a really great, maybe you play video games and you did like a really good job. You got like your highest score, like you got your record or whatever. And I want you to feel the feeling that comes with that. It might feel like a little joy, excitement, happiness, smiles. Great. Now I want you to bring both memories and imagine like you're kind of holding them in place. The bad day, the great day. The bad moment, the great moment. Right? You can be both of these things. Right? This is what life is. Sometimes it's great days and sometimes it's not. And all of that is okay. Being resilient is about knowing that one bad day does not make a bad life. And that one great day doesn't mean every day is going to be great. And being able to breathe and take a moment to have maybe a positive thought and to continue to show up. Because we can't have those great days if we never try. And no matter how much we think it's true, life changes every single day. We have these chances, right? We have these chances to have great moments. And to me, that's kind of like the best stuff of being alive. It doesn't mean that you're never going to have hard days. It just means that the hard days aren't going to turn into hard weeks and hard months and a hard life. It means that the hard day can be just a hard day. And tomorrow could be better. And sometimes that takes a little bit of work for us, right? Sometimes we have to work hard to make tomorrow better. But we can. And a lot of it has to do with what we think about, how we feel, and how we take care of ourselves. So I'm so excited to practice and teach this and learn it with you. And I can't wait. I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you again really soon.